everybody.
Brian's going to be helping on the technical side, as well as Gina Guy.
Hello, everyone.
And so we've got also some people in our different offices chiming in here to support this event. So why are you here? Well, hopefully you're here to learn about some things that you can do with OnBoard that will help extend and add value to your investment outside of just some of the typical things that you use, right? Meetings, the resources. And so I've put together a list, and these are all based on actual customer uses. So that means if you have an idea that I am not mentioning today and you would be willing to share it, that is the way that we know and can bring this type of information to you, is by you sharing these great stories with us. So please, please let us know if you're doing something different, and we'd love to incorporate that in a future session. So today I'm going to be talking about 4 different items, and I would encourage you to please post in the Q&A area. If you're doing one of these things and you want to tell us that you are, please do that. Kind of raise your hand and let us know. If you have questions or you'd like me to go into more detail, any of that information, we'll be monitoring that and responding through the Q&A, as well as sometimes I'll take some questions and respond verbally. So we'll get started here. A couple of things, travel itineraries. So that is something that you can do in OnBoard instead of sending out that information how you may be doing that today. Strategic planning. So strategic planning typically involves lots of individuals, perhaps even groups that may not be part of your normal member list. So it could be an opportunity to extend the use of OnBoard and bring others into the environment to see some of the great benefits. So we'll talk about that. I'll also be talking about a minutes book. So I thought this was really interesting. I have a group that wants to make sure at any moment they can actually pull up their minutes for the entire fiscal year. And then event management. So we're seeing more and more uses of this. It's something that I definitely recommend when I'm doing kickoff calls and implementation planning and launching OnBoard for the first time with our new groups, is to make sure that you have these great engaged board members. You're often very, very heavily involved in the community with events. You have your own events. Let's make sure that those are announced and that you know who's going to be attending. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in to the first one, which is travel itineraries. So this actual idea, this concept was brought to me by a customer, one of an electric cooperative. And initially, you know, they were one of those print shops with doing printed, binded board materials. And so initially that's what drove them to OnBoard, of course, was digitizing that, centralizing that. But they thought, why stop with just the meetings? So the individual who's the administrator of their OnBoard portal was also responsible for managing travel. And she recognized that the process they had was costly. It was inefficient, but now she decided to embed those travel specifics within OnBoard in the meeting. So I'm going to actually scroll down here to this upcoming meeting, the national conference, and I've got the attendee, Dana, and she's going to be going on a conference, and she has access to OnBoard, and she's got her iPad. She's actually going to be even speaking at the conference in addition to attending sessions. She's got to fly. We've got hotel reservations. So why not make that accessible where she's already used to going for information, and it's portable. So I'm going to actually go in and show you how you might utilize the meeting area, the calendar area, for such an item. So again, I've got the title, and I've got the attendee, the location. I could be more specific with the full address. And then just as you would build an agenda, and upload your reports and other important materials for your meeting, you would put in those things that would be standard and add subcategories to make it a personalized, individualized travel itinerary within the platform. So it's right at their fingertips. They don't have to print it. They can always have access to the most up-to-date information. So for example, I've got sections here for the flight itinerary. Of course, you always want to be able to get to that confirmation number, right, when you're checking in. So that's right there. Well, I've got to take a shuttle to the airport. Well, it's already scheduled for me, and there's the phone number. So I can reach out to them. I've got my hotel information, and then even the conference agenda. And I've already planned what breakout sessions I want to attend. So those are already even in here for me. I know what room I have to go to, what time these things are starting. I'm actually going to go to dinner. I've got that location in here, and of course my flight back. So at a quick glance, I can know exactly where I need to be. But just like with your meeting, I can now open the book and get to all of those documents in one place. So I've even actually turned on the table of contents feature. So I actually have a nice little summary. And as I advance through the information, I will be able to find, there I am, there's my takeoff information for my travel, my flight. Continuing to scroll down, I've got my hotel, make sure I'm getting my points there. And then any kind of conference material, or again, maybe I'm doing a presentation. So I've got my iPad, I'm standing preparing at the front of the room with my audience. I can actually pull up the presentation I'm going to deliver at the conference as a speaker and display it right from OnBoard into the actual meeting room. So again, travel is something that we commonly have to deal with, maybe in your roles as an administrator, a board professional, an executive assistant. That's part of your responsibility. So I would encourage you to think about how you can do that. And again, you can selectively make sure that this is just visible to the person that's actually traveling. You could even make it visible to their supervisor if you need be, if it's a staff member. So please let me know, let Brian know in the Q&A what you think about this, if it's something that you think could work for you, or if you're thinking of other ideas. So I know with this group, that really has kind of inspired them to really continue to think outside of the box. And it's not only solved a problem they had with their clunky board books, an inefficient method for that, but also allowed them to extend that out using OnBoard for important travel. Okay, so that is travel itineraries. Next on the list is strategic planning, right? So from time to time, it comes around, maybe 4 or 5 years, you've got your new strategic plan that you need to update and evolve. And again, this is a good opportunity to consider inviting in staff, right? So typically you want to have a diverse view. So you're going to bring in individuals. That would be an opportunity not only to add users in for your strategic planning, but continue to allow them to use it for their weekly staff meetings. So similarly, with strategic planning, we have a couple of different ways that we can leverage OnBoard. We have the meetings area, and of course we have the resource areas. And I would encourage you to think about how you can leverage both. So for example, if I go into my resources area, I've got a folder of strategic planning resources. I can, as the administrator of the folder, set the permissions and make sure that everybody in the strategic planning committee is an administrator so that they can contribute documents, and that it's also private just to this particular group. Now, within this folder, of course, you have full flexibility in terms of what you might want to add. So maybe you want to make sure your bylaws, your current bylaws are in there. Maybe you did recently an assessment of your board members and you want to incorporate some of that information as you're considering your initiatives for the updated strategic plan. Maybe you have budget information. Perhaps even you used OnBoard and used the survey tool to determine when your next meeting is going to be. And you gave options using the survey tool and collected availability for when you're going to have your next strategic meeting. Let's say you have a regular standing meeting, but you needed to add a new one. So in the resources area, you can, again, house your current strategic plan, memos about the project, updates, milestones, progress reports, anything that's affiliated with that can be right here in the resource area. And then, of course, we have the calendar. So I've also created a meeting, but unlike a typical meeting that might have a one-day start and end date, this is going to be more of a evolving living document, and it may span for multiple months. The members might need to change. You can easily add people and invite them in to view those resources and view those meetings. So again, I'm using this, and from time to time, I may have some virtual attendees that can't be there in person. So I want to be sure and include that. So if you are not currently using this new capability, this newly designed feature for remote meeting information, it's also, I guess, a good opportunity for me to mention that as well. So here in the meeting, I also now have a remote meeting. Let me just zoom out a little bit, put it back into the standard view. I've got the remote meeting info. So here I've put in my Zoom information. So if one of my colleagues is not able to attend in person, they can still participate via video. And of course, they have access to OnBoard from wherever they're at. So again, if you think about what are those activities that you might be doing around strategic planning, right? So perhaps you've met initially and you've got your initiatives identified. So you've got an agenda with those initiatives. And then maybe you have different actions that need to be taken towards certain deadlines. All of that information can be put in here. And because we can still open the book and access those materials, if you think about tasks and you think about discussions that are happening during the meeting, you can record all of that. And maybe you do kind of a round robin, and one day I'm the facilitator for that particular standing meeting, and the next day Brian's the facilitator. If you happen to have our enterprise package of OnBoard, or you have the collaboration suite, not only can you make notes, you can also share those notes. In fact, you could then collaborate by sharing your notes with all team members so that you're leveraging OnBoard for keeping everything together. All the materials are with your notes. You're not finding that folder, running from meeting to meeting. Everything's together. And then by sharing, we all have the same information that we're working off of. So just again, whatever it is that those documents might need to be in here, minutes, maybe someone's in charge of taking the minutes. What are those priorities? What are those future meeting dates? And again, leveraging, let me just zoom in here, leveraging the note-taking tools. As you're having the meeting, you can make tasks. Maybe we need to have a demo of a certain software that we're considering to help us towards our initiative of having a central portal for digital education. You can review information, of course, using all the tools, highlight items, circle them, etc., and share those, as I mentioned. So I'm going to make sure that Brian knows that I've assigned this task to him. So again, I would think of this as more of a living document or an ongoing meeting rather than just a contained one and done, but it's a place that as those conversations evolve, you can control again who has access and update the content. You can have versioning if you want to see how things are progressing. So that would be an illustration or demonstration rather of how you might use the resources and the calendar to manage, strategic planning initiative. So again, any thoughts that you might have, any questions? Brian, do we have anything at this point in time?
We have a lot of positive expression. People really excited to see these outside the box uses. A bunch of people are commenting how they, like Kelly Pilcher here, she commented during our session on when you were talking about meeting travel prep. Her CEO is utilizing Cydia for the first time at this exact week. So Kelly, we'd love to hear exactly how it goes. Amber, she likes the idea. She thinks she can use it for sure. Nancy feels that it's going to be really useful for when they attend the ICBA convention for their breakout sessions. And Brandy and Stacy actually had a question about how you're able to adjust the font, the size of OnBoard there, and I mentioned you were actually logged in and zoomed in and out, and I think that could be helpful for her.
Perfect. Yeah, sometimes you never know what you're going to pick up on, right? It could be something OnBoard specific, or it could be even something that you use daily in another way. So thanks so much for that positive feedback. And again, if it's spurring any ideas that you have, please share those, and we'd love to reach out to you and learn more if you're doing some exciting out of the box things as well. Okay, so we've got a couple more things on the list to cover. The next one is a minutes book, right? So this is one I had not thought of, but I worked with a particular group and actually am continuing to work with them on their rollout. And in this case, I think it was specifically the board chair wanted to make sure that they could always get to those minutes. So kind of similar to this living document with the strategic planning initiative, you might also think of a minutes book in this way, although it has more of a defined, maybe you do it for the year. So I'm gonna go back to the calendar, and I have created a minutes book for 2018-19. I've got a description in here, contains the meeting minutes from those meetings. And really it's quite simple, right? So you're gonna have your meetings, and these could be just for your full board meetings. You could have a separate minutes book for each committee. It might be really handy for the committee chairs. Oftentimes, only the committee members attend their meetings, and their report outs happen at the full board meeting, but the board usually has access to that content, and maybe they just want to skim that. It also makes it a lot easier for searching for things. So here, all I have is in my agenda, a very simple list of all of my meeting dates that either have occurred or are coming up for this particular annual minutes book. And as those meetings occur and the minutes are finalized and approved, they just get simply dropped in. And perhaps I might just mention how you do that, right? So adding documents. So we've recently done a little bit of redesigning, and I want to make sure that if it's been a little bit since you've been in OnBoard, that you're taking advantage of how you can now move around and edit the agenda. So right here, I've got the August 16, 2018 section. If I click on edit, I have this flyout here where I can put in even additional information, and I can add a document. So I can navigate to my computer, I can navigate to my resource folder, or I can actually drag something right off of my desktop and drop it right in there. And just as a reminder, you can reorder things, right? So if I hover over these documents, I can change the order. Let's say only I need to know that this was revised. I can even rename it and take that off for the sake of people looking at it in OnBoard. So that was just a quick aside as a reminder of how you can attach documents. You can also drag and drop them right onto the section. So we're giving you lots of different ways that you can upload and attach those important documents. And now that I've added that document, it's going to build my meeting. And so this just assures that whomever needs access to this minutes book always knows that it's always up to date, right? Whenever they look at it, because it's published and they have access to it, they can get to that information from anywhere. So we'll give that just a few minutes to, or a few seconds rather, to finish building. And if you have some other thoughts about or interest in this minutes book, feel free to start to chat in while this is building up.
Yeah, we do actually have a couple of user questions, comments about minutes book. One, Amber actually has a question, Amber Shoshin. She wants to know how is using a minutes book similar to this, a meeting specifically for minutes, more efficient? What is this? What's the advantage of doing this as opposed to just using, say, a resource folder for minutes storage and such? Sarah Handley also, she mentions that she currently, their organization uses the resource folder as a minutes book storage. So.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, this may be, while there are benefits that I think can be broadly applied that can be received by anyone, you know, in this particular case, it was all driven by the board chair wanting to have an easy way to access. By all means, can you go to the resource folder? Absolutely. In the resource folder are my board meeting minutes, but they are separated, one file at a time. If I want to look at them, I have to go into each one. I can search, but I'm only searching within that one document. Now, if I've actually created it here as a book, now what I've given myself the opportunity to do is to actually open the book. When I'm searching, now I don't have to remember which meeting it was in. I can actually search across all the minutes. So that is, I think, a huge advantage. Now, again, maybe this isn't for everybody, but that's certainly one benefit, is being able to search.
I could, yeah, definitely see the advantage of that, the search function, having all the various minutes from a year or 2 years or multiple years, being a single accessible document, definitely could be viewed as an advantage.
Great. So hopefully that provided you with something to think about, right? All right. We have another.
Cindy's got a question. It's somewhat related. Cindy Henderson asks, do you recommend saving documents, uploading documents, I'm assuming is what she means, in PDF so they can't be altered?
Right. So, you know, Cindy, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Certainly uploading documents as a PDF is, I think, a deterrent for if you have concerns that someone might alter a document. A couple things I would say is actually, you've reminded me, it's a great opportunity to mention that OnBoard accepts lots of different document types, right? So it doesn't have to be a PDF, although I think we've come to find commonly that that's just a practice. Everybody saves those documents as PDFs, but we can accept a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation. It can be an Excel tab or a full workbook of tabs. And then in the resource folder, you even have other options like images, links to videos, links to external sites. So certainly if you feel more comfortable putting it as a PDF, especially if you have the download feature available and open, again, I would view it more as a deterrent than anything. Now, you also have control over the permissions so that even if you want users to be able to download and print, they still can't upload. So even if they make a change, unless they're redistributing that outside of OnBoard, they couldn't make those changes and put it back into OnBoard.
I think that's an important point to make, that with permission management, only your admin or contributor could edit, could change that document inside the meeting. So converting it to a PDF, while, like you said, as you said, a deterrent, I don't think is strictly necessary to enhance it, to enable its being a secure document.
Yeah, commonly I'm seeing, and feel free to weigh in, Brian and Gina, that more and more I'm seeing our admins, our board professionals taking advantage of the power of OnBoard, allowing you to just take that document as you receive it, whether it's in Word or a PowerPoint, and putting it right in its native original format. And then when it builds the book, it's still going to, if I go out of the meeting, if someone is downloading, it's going to download that book as a single PDF. So, and I will also mention, this is a good, another opportunity, a recent feature enhancement from May is being able to download the book with your annotations. So if you want to take that with you, we had lots of requests for that as well. So that was third on our list, was the minutes book. So just coming back to kind of my agenda here, we've covered the travel, so strategic planning, the minutes book, and then event management. So again, I mentioned at the top of the session, if I visit your website, I'm almost guaranteed I'm going to be able to go to a news section. I'm going to see that you are strongly rooted in your community and you have events going on. So why not announce those? And you have lots of opportunities to not only announce them, but also to kind of help you manage those events from a participation standpoint and a preparation to get ready for the event. Of course, we need to know how many people are going to be coming so we can order the right amount of food, as an example. So lots of different ways that you can use OnBoard for events. So right here on my dashboard, and again, if you don't have the dashboard, you will at least have the announcements tool. So I'm going to scroll down, and I have created a couple of announcements for events. So this is one way you could publish information about your events. So actually, coming up next week, we have our next webinar, which is our coffee break, just 30 minutes, and we're going to be continuing this conversation of living documents and outside of the box thinking by having one of our customers, actually a team from that organization, talk to us about, and to you hopefully, their business continuity and disaster recovery plans and how they're using OnBoard to manage the ongoing changes that are happening before that item gets published and posted, and then in between the official posting of those documents and publication. So I'm announcing that this event is here. I've even actually got our coffee break logo, so you can add a logo for your event, and you can include links. So if you want to reserve your seat, you can go ahead and register. So you can make those things available to your users of OnBoard. Another kind of similar event announcement would be a conference that we host here at Passageways every year. That's our powwow. This year we're featuring our Ensemble employee intranet product. And so we want to make sure that some of you who are using OnBoard may also be using Ensemble. So perhaps similarly, you might have segmented groups using OnBoard. And if that event is only specific to a group, you can set the permissions so that event is only visible to the group that it's pertinent to. And again, I could link them to the registration. So that's just a simple way to actually post information and give them access to a web page or an event registration page. So that's one way you can manage your events. Another way that you can manage your events is using the actions tools, using our survey tool. So if this is something that you are interested in, let us know, let your customer success manager know if you not currently have the enabled actions as part of your package suite. But I'm going to go ahead and jump over here to the surveys. And I have created a survey for these two upcoming events. Now, if I wasn't the administrator, but rather I was the person that needed to be asked to take the survey, when it opens, I would get an email, and I would also get a notification here inside of OnBoard. So this little red badge indicates to me that I have some unread information. One of them happens to be that this particular survey is open. So now within OnBoard, I can easily let the event manager know if I'm going to be attending, as well as if I'm going to be bringing someone. So just this, you can have all kinds of questions in here. Again, do you have dietary restrictions? Do you need hotel reservations? If there are other questions that you need to ask, in addition to just a simple yes or no, the survey tool allows you to do that. And you can combine multiple events into a single survey. So here I've done that. I've got event number 1, and then I've got event number 2. And if you're the administrator of this event, by utilizing OnBoard to share these events out and collect the RSVP and other details that you need, you can leverage the power of OnBoard here. You can see, and I'm going to go into a slightly different view so it's a little bit more compact. You can view the results, and you can decide, do you want everybody who's responding to the survey to have access to that, to see how many of their colleagues are attending the event too. Hopefully that inspires them to attend as well, rather than makes them not want to attend. But let's say I just wanted to keep that information to myself. As the admin, you can decide if you want that information to be only visible to you. But at a quick glance, I can see that who's attending, who's responded, who hasn't responded. So at a quick glance, while this survey is open, I can see who's responded and all of that information. So let's say everyone has responded. Great. As the administrator, I actually am going to get an email that tells me that everyone has responded. I can then come into OnBoard, and I can close this survey. And upon closing the survey, I now have access to an amazing summary that I can leverage to help me plan my event. So I'm going to click on the downloads, and I can actually download, let's just use the Excel. And I might have to switch my view here momentarily. Okay, so I've actually opened up the workbook, the summary that OnBoard did for me. And I actually have 3 different tabs. I have a general overview when I open and close the survey, the description that I typed. I have a summary, so I can see quickly and graphically or by information. And then this tabular data happens to be my favorite, being kind of a data junkie, but it's also the most useful, I think. So quickly, I can see who are all of the people that I sent the survey to, how many people are attending, and this allows me or you to quickly determine how many lunches you need to order, how many reservations, additional follow-up that you need to do. Let me switch back over here. So those are some different ways. If you have used OnBoard in other ways, including the calendar, so I did not put this event in the calendar, but by all means, if you have a dinner for your board at the president's house, you can put that in here. And if all you need is to know whether that board member or trustee is attending, allow them to leverage the RSVP. So within the meeting, if you just need to know if the board member is attending, by all means, you can use the calendar and allow the RSVP here to do that work and let them put the event on their own calendar. And then you can use the attendance information to see who's attending. So all kinds of ways to leverage OnBoard for events. So I've been talking for quite a while. Hopefully you guys have been able to hang in there with me and you've gotten some good ideas. Brian, do we have any other?
Actually, no other questions.
Okay.
There was Nancy's got a point how her group, Nancy, she shared how they use the resource folder to maintain their policies by their boards, their bylaws, loan and deposit rate sheets. It's a powerful reference for their board members. So she thought she'd share that tip and trick best practice with the gang. So.
Thank you.
But yeah, everybody else, we've run through and answered the questions. Sydney had a question about if you could export the survey response into a spreadsheet, but you were literally, after she had sent, you demonstrated that functionality.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's I think we covered just about everything there. So
well, we're going to wrap up here in just a couple of minutes, but I definitely, again, I just want to thank you guys for coming. We really love to put together these sessions that are of value to you. Again, these were all driven by actual customer ideas, things that we've had the opportunity to talk with our customers about, help them implement. And so again, we would love to learn if you're doing something a little bit different. And Brian's got a question, and then I've got one more kind of add-on thing that I can.
Yeah, Denise Town has a quick, well, maybe not so quick question. She wants to know a little more about the collaboration suite. She wants to know if we could share a little more info on the collaboration suite.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and mention that because we might have some other attendees, right, that are on the session. So with our collaboration suite, there are a couple of really key benefits that you will have access to. The first being the page that I'm actually on right now. So I have a dashboard as my landing page versus just announcements. So what that allows me to do is I can have a welcome panel, which I can change up. I can show and display meetings that are coming up. So basically it truly creates a one-stop centralized location where my board members, my committee members, my senior leadership, they really can get everything they need almost from just coming right here to the dashboard. Again, I created announcements. And again, if you don't have collaboration, you still have the capability to do these announcements, creating links to things. And then down here at the bottom, I have already closed my survey, so it's not showing, but I also have right here on the dashboard that I had an event RSVP survey that was open. So that's one thing. Another addition with collaboration would be the capability to share your annotations, right? So if we go back into my strategic planning and I open the book, we want to make sure that everyone has access to the annotation tool. So that comes as part of the core functionality. So anyone, when they're in the open book view, can take advantage of these tools at the bottom, whether it's the sticky note, the highlighter, or the pen. What's different with collaboration is once I've made that note that would otherwise be only private to me, which is great in probably most cases, in order to collaborate more effectively, I can actually share. So this share option becomes available, and now I can actually choose to share those things with one or more of the individuals that are also having access to this. And there's other ways that you can view the annotation summary. And again, this summary view is available to everybody, but I have the addition of this that indicates whether I've shared something, something's been shared with me or not shared at all. And I can't say too much about it, so I'll be careful, but I will say that we have some exciting things in the works that we are actually in the process of kind of testing out, engineering, going through some thought phases, getting input from customers around a secure messaging tool. And at this time, all things are pointing towards that being a part of our collaboration suite at no additional cost. So look for more information to come out on that yet this year is what we're hearing. So
One last question. Anita has, she wants to know, does the tool allow you to distribute and track documents for signature?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Anita, short answer is absolutely. In the actions folder, which is going to be part of a couple different features, function suites. If you have OnBoard Professional, you're part of our old Essentials Professional Enterprise. If you have Professional or Enterprise package, it should include e-signatures. If you have one of our newer package suite structures, it would be included within our governance suite. You have the ability to create and distribute electronic signatures. You can upload PDFs, Word files, etc. Send those to your users inside of OnBoard and have them sign electronically within their version of OnBoard by using a stylus, even to the point where they can even take their picture, their signature on a signed on a white piece of paper, take a picture of it with their iPhone and upload it to that as well. So there's a couple different ways that functionality can be utilized, but it absolutely is available with the OnBoard suite. If you don't have access to that currently, feel free to reach out to your customer success manager and we can talk about that. Paula wants to know, Paula Sheemer, one of my favorite users. She wants to know, does OnBoard have a notary tool? At this time, that is not functionality that we have explored. We don't have an official notary system within OnBoard, though that's a nice suggestion. I'm not sure that would be something we can kind of pitch up the ladder and see what kind of activity, capabilities we could put in that direction. And always something we're always willing to explore, new and exciting functionality that you might be looking to include and a notary tool. I think there's some interesting questions that would raise as far as capabilities and stuff. So something we can certainly look at, not at this time, but we can always discuss its feasibility, especially for someone like you, Paula.
Okay, well, to that end, we are at our 45-minute mark. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you have found something in here or more than one thing that you're thinking about trying out. Let us know how that works for you if you need help implementing. And I'll just end here with a reminder that next week on June 20th at 2 o'clock Eastern, we also have our 30-minute coffee break where we're going to have members of the LAFCU team talking about their disaster recovery plan and how they're using OnBoard, again, as kind of a living document with that team. So thank you so much for joining us. And give us ideas, hit us up, let us know what you would like to hear in an upcoming session. So everybody have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.